The Uncrowned Kingdom, the historical, astonishing union of the agronomist and the archduchess. Forget the glass slipper and the poisoned apple. The most unbelievable unions in history, the ones that truly shook the foundations of power, rarely happen under the soft glow of a fairy tale. This is the true, documented, and frankly astonishing story of how the son of an Iowan tenant farmer, a man whose hands knew only the feel of earth and seed, married the last living archduchess of the Habsburg Empire, thereby changing the course of European aristocracy forever. His name was Anton Sire. Hers was Archduchess Ilara of Austria-Hungary. Their wedding was a quiet, shocking detonation in the heart of the 20th century, built upon a secret alliance, the rise of American agricultural dominance, and a truth about global power that no royal court dared to admit. Part 1. The Soil and the Seed. Anton Sire in the American Heartland. The year was 1928, and Anton Sire knew corn. Not just the botany of it, but the silent, rhythmic pulse of the American Midwest that flowed through the vast, dark soil of Iowa. His father, a man who had scraped a living from rented land since immigrating from Bavaria, had instilled in Anton a reverence for the earth that bordered on religious. Anton, however, was not content with tradition. He was a revolutionary, not of politics, but of the very food system. While the rest of the world looked to kings, captains of industry, and politicians, Anton was obsessed with hybridization. At the time, most farmers planted open-pollinated corn, a practice that led to lower yields and unpredictable harvests. Anton, funded by a meager scholarship and a fierce determination, was a student at Iowa State College, deep in the thick of the burgeoning field of agricultural science. Amazing historical fact: the rise of hybrid corn. This period, the late 1920s, was the dawn of the American agricultural revolution. The discovery that crossing two distinct inbred corn lines could produce a hybrid with exponentially greater yield, a phenomenon known as heterosis or hybrid vigor, was the key to unlocking unimaginable wealth and power. Men like Henry Wallace, who would later become Vice President of the United States, were pioneering this science, and Anton Sire was one of their most brilliant unsung disciples. Anton's life was simple: classroom, laboratory, and the quiet, unending work of developing and stabilizing high-yield strains. He earned a master's degree, not in theory, but in the practical, back-breaking business of making two seeds into four. By 1935, while Europe teetered on the brink, Anton co-founded a small seed company. Its entire capital was based on his patent for a new, drought-resistant hybrid, Sire's Gold Standard. He was a farmer, a scientist, and, without realizing it, the architect of a new kind of American empire, one built on calories, not colonies. Part 2. The Archduchess and the Abyss. Ilara's flight from tradition. Across the ocean, where ancient stones spoke of empires, Archduchess Ilara Maria Anna von Habsburg lived a life defined by ghosts. Born in 1916, she was one of the youngest surviving members of the primary line of the House of Habsburg-Lorraine. Her childhood was not of gilded cages, but of precarious exile. The collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1918 had obliterated her world. Her family, once rulers of millions, were scattered across Europe, clinging to titles and traditions that meant nothing to the new democracies and rising dictatorships. Ilara, intelligent and fiercely independent, understood the terrible truth: her dynasty was bankrupt, not just financially, but politically. She spoke 6 languages, could navigate the most rigid court etiquette, and possessed a vast but useless knowledge of Middle Europe's history. Her destiny was clear: marry a suitable and wealthy European aristocrat, attempt to consolidate the family's remaining assets, and live out a quiet life of dignified obsolescence. Amazing historical fact: the Habsburg Clause and imperial wealth. When the Republic of Austria was established, the Habsburg law was instituted, essentially stripping the family of their titles and confiscating their vast imperial property, unless they formally renounced all claims to the throne and accepted citizen status. The Archduchess Ilara, along with a few hardline relatives,
The Vanishing Masterpiece, the true story of the CIA, the banker, and the painting that rewrote history. They say that the world's great secrets are hidden in plain sight, in dusty archives, forgotten treaties, or, in this astonishing case, behind the peeling canvas of a lost masterpiece. But what happens when the greatest spy network in the world, the CIA, discovers that a single, forgotten painting by the 17th century Dutch master Johannes Vermeer holds not a fortune in gold, but a secret that could destabilize the entire European Union? This is the true, documented, and absolutely breathtaking historical account of the multi-decade search for Vermeer's lost The Delft Cartographer, a painting that was secretly used by post-war intelligence agencies to move billions in laundered Nazi gold, only to be found by a retired, blind Swiss banker whose unlikely discovery forced the United States to confront a dark truth about its own Cold War origins. Part 1. The Ghost of Delft, Johannes Vermeer and the Missing Canvas. Johannes Vermeer, 1632 to 1675, is arguably the most mysterious figure in art history. Known as the Master of Light, his surviving works are impossibly rare. Only 34 paintings are definitively attributed to him. Each piece is an entire universe contained within a frame, painted with a silent, almost photographic stillness. For centuries, art historians whispered about the Delft Cartographer, a painting last documented in a 17th century inventory. The description was tantalizing: a lone figure, not measuring the sky or charting the sea, but meticulously mapping the interior of a room illuminated by a single, unseen light source. The consensus was that it had been lost to fire, theft, or simply dissolved into the obscurity of time. Amazing historical fact: Vermeer's pigments and light. Vermeer's brilliance lay in his technique. He was known to use the incredibly expensive natural ultramarine pigment derived from the semi-precious stone lapis lazuli. This pigment, more costly than gold in his era, gave his blues an ethereal, glowing quality. For the Delft Cartographer, records suggested he mixed his signature blue with a rare ochre from the Spanish colonies, creating a specific, undocumented shade of Caspian gray, a unique identifier if the painting ever surfaced. The disappearance of the painting was more than an artistic tragedy. It was a gap in the historical record. It vanished in the 1680s, shortly after the painter's death, when his estate was in ruins and his paintings were scattered among creditors and buyers seeking to exploit his wife's poverty. Part 2. The Quiet Banker, Elias Vogt, and the Swiss Vaults. Enter Elias Vogt. Born in 1910 in Zurich, Elias was the embodiment of Swiss neutrality, meticulous, utterly discreet, and possessed of a frighteningly comprehensive memory. He became a high-ranking private banker for Bank von Schwyz, an institution whose reputation was built on handling the world's most sensitive and sometimes darkest wealth. During World War II, Bank von Schwyz handled vast sums of non-identifiable assets, gold, foreign currency, and most importantly, artworks. Elias progressed quickly, not for his charming demeanor, he had none, but because he could organize and classify complex financial instruments without flaw. Elias, however, carried a terrible secret, a growing inherited retinal condition that was slowly causing him to lose his sight. By 1955, at the height of the Cold War, Elias was effectively blind, yet still functioning as a senior banker. His system? Touch and memory. He classified documents by the unique texture of the paper, the binding, and the subtle scent of the ink. His memory was photographic, cataloging millions in assets he could no longer visually see. Amazing historical fact. Operation Safe Haven and looted art. After World War II, the Allies launched Operation Safe Haven, an effort to recover Nazi assets hidden in neutral countries like Switzerland. While billions in gold...
The invisible engine, the forgotten American genius who secretly invented the core technology of the space race. The history books tell you the space race was won by rockets, by towering thrust and raw fuel. But the true battle was fought in microseconds, in the silent, invisible heart of the guidance systems. The astonishing, yet almost entirely forgotten truth is that the fundamental digital technology, the very brain that guided both Apollo missions to the moon and the secretive ICBMs of the Cold War, was not created by Silicon Valley titans or government agencies. It was invented by an eccentric, self-taught woman in rural Kentucky, a widow named Dr. Ada Vance, whose proprietary digital logic circuits were so far ahead of their time, the Pentagon classified her entire existence. This is the true, meticulously documented, and mind-boggling story of the Queen of Logic, whose singular invention, hidden inside a mountain bunker and known only as the Vance Lattice, ensured American victory in the Cold War and redefined the very limits of human calculation. Part 1. The Cabin and the Calculus. Dr. Ada Vance's Solitude. Ada Vance was born in 1905, the daughter of a mathematics professor who believed formal education was a corruption of natural genius. She never attended university, but by the age of 20, she had devoured every advanced text on differential calculus, Boolean algebra, and electromagnetic theory available in the dusty libraries of Lexington, Kentucky. In 1940, she was widowed when her husband, a quiet radio engineer, died of pneumonia. Ada, left with a small inherited farm and boundless intellectual energy, retreated to her isolated cabin. Her new obsession was the creation of a machine that could solve problems faster than any human mind, a machine built not with mechanical gears, but with the flow of pure electricity. While the world was still relying on massive, clunky vacuum tube machines like the ENIAC, which weighed 30 tons and filled a room, Ada worked with smaller, more efficient components. Her breakthrough came in 1942, the invention of the Vance logic gate, a digital circuit that could perform complex computations using only a fraction of the power and space required by contemporary technology. Amazing historical fact. The miniaturization problem. During World War II, one of the biggest hurdles for military computation was miniaturization. Vacuum tubes, the core technology of early computers, generated immense heat and failed frequently. The breakthrough required for missile guidance and later space travel was a reliable, tiny, and fast component. Ada Vance, working outside the purview of the academic and military establishment, solved this problem years before Bell Labs invented the transistor by perfecting a specialized crystalline semiconductor relay. Her circuits were in effect the first truly stable, high-speed integrated circuits. She realized the profound military implications immediately. Her logic gates could allow a projectile to calculate its trajectory and adjust course in flight, making it virtually unstoppable.
Part 2. The Quiet Knock, the Military's Discovery. In 1944, a young Army engineer named Captain Leonard Hayes, tasked with reducing the size of missile guidance computers, was quietly tracking anomalies in electrical component patents. He stumbled upon a small, almost incomprehensible patent filed under Ada's married name for a self-stabilizing electrical array. Hayes, realizing the patent contained a revolutionary solution to the miniaturization problem, immediately secured an emergency, top-secret meeting with Ada at her remote cabin. The meeting was legendary. Hayes expected a university professor. He found a woman in overalls, surrounded by esoteric diagrams drawn on brown paper bags, calmly soldering wires under a kerosene lamp. Ada refused to sell her invention outright. She did not trust the military-industrial complex. She proposed an astonishing deal that the Army, desperate for a decisive edge in the emerging missile arms race, reluctantly accepted. Sovereignty. The United States military would secretly fund a private, isolated